This is Help Now Group. We've got a very special guest with us today, Keiran, one of my strongest supporters since living in Canberra and hitting the baseball with Keiran, but also just someone that we've interviewed on the podcast before about how BAS agents and people in other industries are here to support vulnerable people, also supporting our very special peer support charity baseball event coming up soon in October for Mental Health Month, without a doubt BotBooks and across business. Keiran, thanks very much for coming out today.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Rodney.
Oh, look, there's a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack, and I think in our previous show with Kate from the Hope Project, who Keiran may or may have not introduced me to, we've been speaking through the last couple of years about, how do we help vulnerable people, and how agents of change really are everywhere. They're not just, they don't have this title, they're not this clinician, they don't have a white jacket. Really agents of change and supporting people, and across business has been integral on helping Help Now Group grow to what it is, and also with our mental health peer support endeavors. I think, Keiran, what do you say? I know we were chatting before we got on the video here. What would you say the biggest part of mental health is in the BAS agent world for those that don't swim in it like you do?
Interesting question. In small and micro business in particular, the owners and the professionals don't really have a lot of support around them who really understand business. Many people in small and micro business, and let's for the most part talk sole proprietors or perhaps a husband and wife team. For the most part, they may have a partner, their husband, their wife, the lover, their brother, their sister. But in a lot of those instances, those people do not understand the pressures of running a business. And when I move about and I talk to people in those circumstances, it's amazing to see just how much pressure they feel they are under because they have no one to talk to. So I started across business a number of years ago with that thought in mind that the small business, micro businesses were not well served. They were, or if they were well served, they were paying through the nose for it. I come from a business background and a business management background, and I just felt that I have a lot that I can bring to the table for those small and micro businesses to help steer them through the maze and to help them learn some of the lessons that I learned over my 30 odd years in business.
And I think how vital it is. We've just recently had from a recent donation. We haven't even started the game yet, and we're already putting, with Keiran's support, one of our peer support workers into the workforce and building their structures around them. So one, they can run their own business, but also manage whatever life throws at them, which just continues to snowball. So I think, what is someone that wants to engage Help Now and wants help as a peer support worker, or a new social worker or mental health clinician, let's dispel some of those myths about, do I talk to a BAS agent? Do I talk to a bookkeeper? What do I do? I'm just going to get an ABN. Maybe I can use some accounting. And Keiran was sharing a very interesting story about just that multiplier when things go wrong. Do you want to share
so typically when somebody wants to start their own business, they'll take one of two approaches. One, they would just go ahead and do it. And what we find there almost invariably is the business structure that's chosen is not the way to go in the long term, good for a short-term fix. Or they'll go to an accountant or lawyer and get steered into setting up a company, and they end up paying that lawyer or accountant to do that for them, and that becomes a very expensive exercise. And often, as a carry on from there, they are then felt obligated to continue to work with the accountant and get bill shock. And by bill shock, I mean accountants and lawyers are typically not cheap.
Yeah.
They provide very good services, they've got very good knowledge base, but they're not cheap. And often, even for services which could be completed and undertaken by you or, let's for example, say a bookkeeper or a virtual assistant, you end up paying the accountants high rates rather than the virtual assistant or bookkeeper lower rates. So my advice to anybody who's looking to start out in business is to find somebody who has been there, done that, and can come recommended to you by somebody who has been through the journey that you're about to undertake.
So how are bookkeepers and peer support workers alike? What do they cross over?
Generally, a bookkeeper is a sole operator or works in a very small micro business. Many of them have come from employed work, paid work as a bookkeeper, and some have fallen into bookkeeping through having run their own business.
So they've done that chase a little bit. And
Yeah,
done that
been there. And
what do I do first?
Yeah, unlike an accountant and a lawyer, they haven't been through that university higher learning area. Instead, they've probably come in at Cert 4.
The vocational learning.
Vocational learning, essentially. Yeah. And if I could put it in a very blunt way, they're real people. They don't have pretensions in for the most part. They don't charge and don't have an expectation of a $500 an hour billing cycle. And in many cases, they have more than sufficient life experience and book learning, to provide a very high level of service, so that when the time's right, you are ready then to go to your tax agent to have your income tax prepared, for example. They can equip the individual to do as much as they can and should do in their own business, and then just pick up and offer a bit of help here and there where it's necessary. So a bookkeeper's fairly flexible in what they can do. They're very approachable. They are, as I say, in many respects, they're no different to the average social worker or the average librarian. They're just ordinary people.
And I think I know Keiran was talking a little bit about new business startups that get into process. He may or may not have been talking about how Help Now got started. And I remember very vividly Keiran saying to me, we connected through other circles, which I know Canberra runs a lot off of, and relationship-wise. And I think what's really inspired me from Help Now and helping vulnerable people is Keiran being my friendly BAS agent, but also him committing to some bigger goals that Help Now has, to make sure that any new peer worker that joins with Help Now, and some new news coming in 2020 that Keiran and I and some very other down-to-earth, really fighting for the peer support workforce development, are really uniting. And I see some great things coming, and I think people can rest assured that Commonwealth Bank manager, long-time BAS agent, bookkeeper, real genuine person that's in the industry that some people with mental illness or they're struggling with things might be hesitant to engage with. Help Now is going to have a full suite of resources like Keiran and BotBooks. For those that are starting out, we'll put some stuff on the page. But I think Keiran's supporting our charity baseball game coming up on the 12th to the 10th for Mental Health Month. And also, for any of those peer workers that are ready to jump in, or you're not sure and you want to test the waters, you want to talk about finance before you want to talk about how am I going to deliver a service, Help Now's got a fantastic lived experience team that can help work you through those processes and make it as painless as possible, because it's just that knowledge.
Yeah.
And Keiran and BotBooks and across business have been very reduced a lot of my anxiety with lots of things. So I think part of this game coming up in October, and the big news coming at the event, is about, you know, having the likes of BAS agents, having the like of, you know, renowned marketers, renowned business people that can help people get through the journey and get those pain points out of the way.
Yep, and that, you know, you make a very good point. One of the big things that I see, and as workers in the social field and counselling field, many of the viewers will come across this, is dealing with people who put off the inevitable because they feel that they're in too deep. And we all know people who have experienced that, and we know that the longer they put it off, the deeper the hole becomes, and the spiral gets faster and faster until it converts to a vortex.
Yeah.
And when they get spat out the other side into that I suppose clear thinking space, they go, gee, that was easy after all. It wasn't that difficult to talk to somebody about these things. And so the invitation is there for not just for peer workers themselves to take advantage of any experience we might be able to offer, but also it's an opportunity for, if you have instances with your clients that are having a bit of financial trouble, and a little bit of experience might help them as well.
Very exciting days ahead for the full suite and full rounded knowledge for people, because I think, you know, with mental illness and, you know, peer workers, mental illness, and those social workers, counsellors out there that have lived experience, I think we all know in our practice that we wouldn't let things get out of hand with a client, that we wouldn't let things get to a point where we put it under the rug and not deal with it. And I think if you're running a practice at the moment and you need those kind of tools, whether it's some technology that we can provide, or, you know, soft referrals, hard referrals to BotBooks and our other team, I know that it's going to be vital that mentally we're in the right space. But if those finances are playing a heavier role, I know BotBooks has unpacked a lot of things for us, which is why we need Keiran and his team with us during this transformational journey. And I think you'd really miss out if you don't at least, you know, send us a query. I'll send Keiran's details on there. You might catch Keiran out on the baseball field on the 12th or the 10th. And yeah, look, I guess any last words, I guess, for the people out there?
Yeah, just very quickly, just be mindful that you as professionals know what you do, and you know it very well. Myself and my team, we know our stuff very well. It's what we do. And in the same way that we wouldn't dare to suggest that we could help somebody with a mental issue, we might say to you, why would you think that you and your clients are bookkeepers? I'll leave that with you.
And look, for those that get involved, like Keiran said, a very interesting point. I guess a sign off from the Help Now is how many things we have in common. We have to bookkeep, we have to report the same way, we need the same HR requirements, and it's our very tight lane of service is the only thing that's not the same thing that others do, but we're connected in so many ways. And I know Help Now with us, it's very much about bringing every single player in and that has their special trade, but everyone in the crew with Help Now and BotBooks and across and Content Grasshopper and the rest, we know that they know it's the long game, and it's relationships and connecting. So
absolutely,
thank you very much for coming out. I appreciate
Pleasure.
your time, man.
Pleasure.